So hi, welcome to Noise Podcast. I'm Shane.
I'm Glory.
We're so back.
We're so back, and it is the end. This is the
Yes.
end of the Warnings discography that we're about to talk about.
Yes, it's the end, the last one. We thought last week was going to be the end, and then people were like, talk about the EP, and we were like, okay.
Okay,
So we're
here we are.
Yeah, we're here. We're talking about the Warnings 2015 Escape the Mind EP. And as Glory said, this is the end. There is no more. We're moving on after this because there is nothing left. Going into this, we'll be talking about one of our collective favorite bands, My Chemical Romance, and diving through their discography, starting with I Brought You My Bullets, You Brought Me Your Love, which I was thinking this morning because I knew that this is where we were going. I'm like, now how am I supposed to take my thoughts on records that I have listened to obsessively
for years,
for almost 10 years, and then be like, condense it into a podcast about each one? That's more of a feat than listening to a band for the first time, I think, and giving my thoughts on it. So I'm more scared about that than like diving into a Warning record that we hadn't heard before, and talking
it's
about
first
it.
impressions. Versus already.
I have my impressions.
Exactly. I mean, for the past, as you said, like 10 years. For me, probably like 8. But like, it's fucking crazy how long it's been out. God, time is fucking wild.
I've had my opinions for a long time, and they're strong opinions.
It's like your favorite album of all time, isn't it?
One of them.
I Brought You My Bullets.
Well, that's one of my favorite bands of all time, and then that the record we're going to be starting with, I got very strong opinions. So
so do I.
So that should be fun. But if you're listening to this and you're a fan of My Chem, starting next Monday, we'll be putting out those every week, so that's fun. But back to this, we're as we said, chatting about Escape the Mind here. We said during our last review of 21st Century Blood that we made the decision to talk about this, and for people to set expectations, because no one was really talking about that record, 21st Century Blood, in our comments. Everyone was like, Error and Queen of the Murder Scene, talk about those are great, listen to them. And no one was talking about 21st Century Blood. And then we were like, okay, well, absolutely no one's talked about the EP until
until we brought it up, and it was like, why aren't people talking about the EP? And when people did do rankings, the EP always landed like somewhere in the middle, at lower half usually. So I think it's fair to say that this is one of their lesser known, lesser loved records compared to all their other ones. And then some of the people that were so kind to set expectations for us were like, well, they were very young when they did it, and that was basically the expectation going into it, that they were very young. And listen, when I was their age, I was not making a 6-song EP. I was sitting back there. Actually, the TV faced this way, and I was playing video games. Just fucking chilling, man. Doing jack shit. God, because they're like, what? I swear to God, maybe I saw one digit. Someone was like fucking 8 when this was made, and I was like, are you fucking kidding me? That can't be real though. I must be making that up. But there were so many ages that were thrown out into the comment section, mixture of 21st Century Blood and Escape the Mind. And I don't know, dude, they're so fucking young. Even now, they're still like early 20s, teens. I think like one of them is still a teenager, maybe. So it's just wild to listen through their entire discography, see how they've grown voice-wise as well, because in this EP, they sound like children. Like the other one, they could get away with, late teenagers. This one, they sound like fucking babies, which is fine because they were. But damn, it's very impressive.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So the expectations going in set were they're young. That's about it. So going in, I'm like, all right, we'll see. But I actually enjoyed it. I thought that overall it was a solid EP, especially first EP at their age, this rocked.
Yeah.
There was really only one song on here where I like saw the vision for what became the debut, and then kind of that set the tone for what the band is going to sound like. So I only really heard one song that like kind of in my opinion laid the groundwork for what the rest of the band is. The rest of the songs were a little bit like on like the chiller side. A couple of slow songs, and then a couple that bordered that weren't like Free Falling, which is the song I'm talking about, which is where like I see the vision with that song. Like we're going for the hard rock style. The other two, Take Me Down and Fade Away, are like a little bit chiller but still rock songs, and then Eternal Love and Escape the Mind are just the chill zone out songs. But what I like is listening through this EP, you get a lot of sounds that you do not experience throughout the rest of their discography, because Free Falling is really the song and the sound that kind of stuck going further. So I thought that was really cool. But overall, I thought the songs were strong. My favorite being Free Falling, because it's the most like what we had heard previously, and I like that style. But I also like Take Me Down. My least favorite being Eternal Love, because it builds into a bigger part, but it's just like when I listened through this EP a lot on loop, and it was always the one that I forgot was coming.
Yes. Yeah, it always snuck up on you. It was just kind of like this one. Okay. And then you would forget about it in like 10 minutes. And then again, it would fucking jump scare.
And I'd be like, oh my God, there's not, because I just kept listening through the piano version of Escape the Mind as well. So I'm like, there's 6 songs on this EP, not 5.
Yeah.
Every time.
It's fucking, yeah, I thought this EP was great. I do. Considering their age and the fact that someone commented and said that these were like the first songs they've ever written, ever created, just in the history of the band, and that's why it's up, and that's why they released it. I agree. Free Falling is also my favorite off of the EP. It definitely does sound like copy and paste what they're doing now. Obviously, voices have matured, sound and their vision has evolved and kind of gotten a lot clearer. So that's expected with their debut EP, debut release ever, period. I agree. Eternal Love is definitely an interesting track. Almost like somber ballad-esque. It's very strange. And to me, it's just very strange to kind of have it like right there. Same with Escape the Mind. It's just those 2 tracks being the slowest as well. They just didn't hit, I guess, because I was expecting more just kind of amateur The Warning, kind of what they're doing with all their other records. Only, younger voices, and maybe mixing's not as great or lyrics aren't as great, but just completely out of left field. Sound-wise, nothing what I expected. Not to say it's bad, but just not, in my opinion, doesn't really fit in their discography. I'm glad they did it, and I'm glad that they were able to kind of experiment and kind of mess around with their vision and what they want to do with the band. And I'm happy they landed on Free Falling.
Yeah.
Because I don't think we'd be here if they did the other 2 for the rest of the band.
I actually liked the title track Escape the Mind, because I think that they honestly crush the piano ballad.
The piano ballad's my favorite.
Yeah, and
version of it.
Yeah, and that's where that's something that kind of got lost as we go further into the band, because there's the piano only version, but the version with all the instruments on it is still a piano at its core. So I think that they absolutely they crush that, and I do like the piano only where you take away all the other instruments on the track. So yeah, I personally liked it. The only one that I was like about was Eternal Love, solely for the fact that I just kind of forgot about it every time I went through the EP.
That's fair. Yeah, that's completely fair.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I would say that now knowing this EP, listening through, my ranking I think is still the same, where I would put, actually maybe it isn't the same. My memory, I'm not sure. But just looking back through everything, I would say Queen of the Murder Scene, number one. You could go number one.
Keep Me Fed.
Keep Me Fed.
Yeah.
Okay. 21st Century Blood probably is my second favorite now.
Okay. It's still Queen of the Murder Scene for me.
That's fair.
Mm.
Keep Me Fed is probably 3 for me.
Error for me.
For you? All right. Error's 4th for me. Yeah.
21st Century Blood.
Yeah, and then Escape the Mind.
Yeah. Yeah. I liked it overall, but of all of the ones I'm gonna come back to, this one would be the last on my mind, both because if I sort the album, both because number one, it's not, I like the style, but I prefer what they're doing now, and number two, if I sort the releases by albums, this one doesn't even come up on Spotify, so I'll just forget it's there.
Yes. And there it goes.
Out of sight, out of mind,
That's fucking it. Yeah.
But these were our thoughts on the Warnings 2015 Escape the Mind. Solid debut EP.
Oh, for sure.
And very cool that at least on one of the songs you can kind of see where it started, and then we got to experience the progression, albeit backwards. We got to experience the progression, and now we see the whole thing as it was.
For sure.
So this has been fucking rad, that's for sure. We've got an interview with The Warning about their most recent record, Keep Me Fed. We reviewed all of the other records, including Keep Me Fed. Those are all down in the description. You can watch all of them. See our opinions on each song, or on each album, not each song, that would take so long, on each album, and you can see why we ranked it the way we did. And then you can subscribe to us on here on YouTube if you so wish, and follow us on social media, which if you're going down there to click on one of the links to one of the other videos that's down there, the social media links are a little bit past those, so you could click on those and follow us on your social media of choosing. Next week we'll be jumping into My Chemical Romance, starting with I Brought You My Bullets, You Brought Me Your Love. So if you like My Chem, come back next week. Next Monday we'll be starting out that. And that should be a blast, as we said earlier. Big fan of that band, so gonna be a totally different vibe from first impressions of that we had with The Warning. So with that being said, I've been Shane.
I've been Glory,
and we've been the Good Noise Podcast. See you when we see you. Bye.